Hey guys, still still making my journey. It's a little bit colder now. You know how it goes. It gets colder and then it gets warmer and then it gets colder, then it gets warmer. It just keeps happening. Anyways, I want to talk about updates from my Social Security disability application. So it turns out that the judge has decided that I'm not disabled. It's unbelievable. Makes no fucking sense. The judge has determined that I'm not disabled after all that. It makes no sense to me. But I've moved it forward to the next step, which is to file for an appeal with the Appeals Council. Okay? The Appeals Council in Maryland, judges in New York, Social Security official mailing is in Kentucky. So Kentucky, New York, and then Maryland, that's where the judge is for the Appeals Council. The judge is in New York City. The Appeals Council is in Maryland. So they have the final say in all of this. This is the process for applying for Social Security disability. If you need help, you're pretty well fucked because our system doesn't give a fuck. I've seen it my entire life. And these judges drag their feet and take as long as what they deem to be necessary, which amounts to over 1,000 days. So if you need help from your disabling condition, in my case, it took over 1,000 days just to get a response, which was no. And there was no reason provided other than cherry picking data from my medical record and saying, well, it doesn't seem like that is aligned with a disability. And no questions were asked of me that would help fill in the blanks of possible scenarios. So the judge wasn't interested in those possible scenarios. Judge is not interested in my well-being as a person, and therefore the judge should not be qualified to make these determinations, or this process shouldn't even exist, or whatever. Many things can be said. But I am still disabled. I am unable to work. Otherwise I would be working. So, again, there's no real discussion here. It's whether the judge is willing to use critical thinking in order to determine whether it's true or false. But I didn't create this process, so the Social Security Administration is responsible for the process that they created. So I think it shouldn't exist, but if it's going to exist, I was certainly never asked to work for Social Security Administration or to be a judge or to use my intelligence for any of this. If I had, I would be able to decide in a more reasonable amount of time which would be fairly quickly. So I don't understand why this process exists. And if it does exist, I don't understand why it takes years to get a response. And the response is no, we're going to steal your money, essentially. That promise that we gave you when you were 10 years old, that we would pay Social Security disability in the event that you could not physically or mentally work and hold a job, is actually a false promise. And that's all we're telling you 25 years later. 27 years later. But this process started when I stopped working, which was November 8th, 2021. I worked through the maximum amount of pain that I could possibly tolerate and continue to do my job. And that was it. I mean, there's no other proof is needed. I'm telling you. So the process that Social Security disability follows is fraudulent. We're just waiting for the appeals council to give their opinion on the matter, and they should immediately overturn the results and get rid of the judge. Because if she does that to me, she's doing that to lots of people, and that's a really stupid thing. So it's I cannot even begin to tell you how disappointed I am with this whole thing after all this time. I mean, I can tell you many different ways, but that's the problem, isn't it? It's that there are too many ways to communicate, and actual communication doesn't actually happen. And when people need help, they're not getting it because the barriers are already in place. And why go past a barrier when it's easier to not? Something a child might do, but not an old stuffy judge. They expect you to cater to them, even when you're the one that needs the help and they're the ones getting paid to do their job. So I would request that I have the amount of time that has been wasted. I would request that I have the exact amount of pay that the judge was paid during that time period. And that's a fair amount of money in my eyes, because what purpose do you have for paying a judge that amount of money when that is what she did? I could do more with that money, and I could build an actual life for myself, and I could be happy and satisfied. And it would help me pay for things as I try to rebuild. My body is hurting still. I've made progress, still making progress every little day here. I'm very, I mean, it's so beyond ridiculous that this exists. You know, taught to respect the judge, taught to, hold the judge at a higher standard and stuff, and then you walk through a process where the judge literally doesn't care and drags it out this amount of time, and you get no single entity from the Social Security Administration that was helpful at all. No single entity that was helpful at all. So you just go by the information that they are giving you, and that's all you can do. And I've got it. I've got screenshots. I've got copies of the letters. I've got a memory that remembers what was said to me. And I try to use that as best as possible, even with pain. So the date of my application was November 19th, 2022, and I said that you're not going to be able to determine. And I was correct. So you cannot possibly discern. I can tell that by looking at you. So why are you taking the money? What exactly do you need the money for? And I don't. But I don't know. I've been called names by the mental hospital, so I did not include that in my application because they're false. But again, that would be considered evidence of mental illness, which may help my case of disability, but it's simply not true. But again, one person says one thing, another person says another thing, and then we're wasting time talking back and forth saying, no, it's this, no, it's this, no, it's this. The original intention of the purpose of the process to begin with is not used here. What's happening is people are being denied for no good reason, and they're not getting the help that they need. And it's a sad process. But I can tell you with 100% confidence that the amount of pain that I experience is not something that you could easily handle. And, you know, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but of course, you know, for one to be able to make a judgment about disability determination, one should understand what it feels like first. So, if Social Security wants me to be a judge, I'll be a judge, and I'll get through your cases a lot faster than these people you have currently. And otherwise, I'm just going to try to get money the way I know how once my body is able to work again. Which is going to be a while still, because I have to figure out why this happened to begin with and how I can prevent it from happening. Yeah, you're confused, I know. Different species, right? We have no way to communicate. I'm the two-legged creature, you're a four-legged creature. I'm in your territory, and you're afraid of me. Humans have created ways of speaking, but we don't use them very well. We have too many words. We have too many ways of saying things. You know, you could use the correct words, but use it in a sarcastic way or something, and it means something else. So, you know, when it comes to communicating, we all understand that, you know, life is filled with suffering, and, you know, there are good pleasant sensations, and there are bad sensations, uncomfortable sensations. And those are the ones that we try to avoid, but we don't always know how. And when we need somebody to help, a lot of times they're not so quick to help. And because of that, because of a culture of normalized negligence toward our peers. People have to suffer and die, and the weak are weeded out. If you want to call it weak. People that just can't do it, but could if somebody helped them, right? Our medical system is, it's organized, but it's still a mess and disaster, and not sufficient to help people. Maybe, right? If you're lucky, they can help you, but there's so many things they can't help, and they need to evolve. They need to get better, because we all need it. And there's nothing really for me to say besides the observation of the obvious. It takes a long time to really see everything sometimes, especially when there's, a lot of garbage in the way. But, once you see, there are some major things that need to be addressed. And that's only going to help the future. The current is in gamble territory, because we just simply don't have the resources, or we have resources that say things or intend to accomplish things, but they don't, or at least not nearly enough. So we got a long ways to go, but Social Security Administration is really a disappointment. But that's just a Yelp review for you. Just a Yelp review, I guess. But if everybody knows something is terrible and it doesn't get changed, then it seems strange to me. How much evidence is necessary? Well, people look through a lens, and they focus on one thing. They're looking for a specific word or a specific pattern of words that tells the story that they're looking for. And if it doesn't meet that, then they say no. But they give no guidance on what they're looking for. And they don't employ their own critical thinking process. It's like, is it possible that the process that I follow could be insufficient in some cases? And if so, then what might those cases look like, or what do I have to do to find out if this case is one of those cases? Those things have not been handled in my case or asked in my case. I've received no communication other than from, letterhead from Social Security Administration, or some small updates on my online account, but nothing useful for me, and no critical questions that would help a judge determine if I'm just bullshitting you or not. It's not really possible, in my estimation, with this process, unless you really know people well. The backgrounds of people, and you say, well, that guy really is struggling, but it's crazy that a process called Social Security Administration exists when we already have a bunch of people that live in communities, and they are social creatures, and they have the ability to socialize, and therefore provide security for people who need help, right? This is already a thing that exists in a culture of people, a race of people. Humans have the ability to look out for each other and help each other when necessary. And When that doesn't happen, why is it not happening? Why is it not happening? That's the only question left. And I've asked the question myself, and I don't know the answer. I've never known the answer. I walk without the answer. But I can give you information when I see something that's wrong. I can tell you. And this is here's one of many things right here is Social Security Administration. I think it's the worst thing because it affects so many people. There's just countless, I don't know what the numbers are, but, countless amounts of people that, are part of Social Security Administration. And if you're a working person and you're not able to work and you have to file your own claim for disability, which is strange because shouldn't your employer do that? Shouldn't somebody else do that? If you're the one hurting, why do you have to be the one to claim it? And when you do claim it, why does it not get approved? Or why does it get dragged out, and why does it get denied? These are all questions that that only have to be answered once failures have happened, once a failed process has happened. So I don't know what to tell you other than Social Security disability determination process is fraudulent itself. And my example is my case. And the appeals council should quickly overturn it, but I have seen no confidence in any of this process. As far as I understand, they had the jurisdiction to do that at any point in time throughout this entire process. So, if they are aware that a case is dragging out too long, they can investigate the matter themselves. But they clearly didn't do that. In any case, they have my letter, and they sent me a receipt, so I know they got it. And they're going to spend the next however much time trying to figure out I suspect they're just going to say no again, because why not? It's not their problem. And unfortunately, it needs to be their problem because it's supposed to be their problem, because that's why they exist to begin with. So, I don't know what to tell you, but we have severe problems with our society. And if you don't want to build a group of people that work together and end all this suffering, then we're not going to do it. It's that simple. If you don't want to build something that, where these terrible disasters just stop happening, then it won't get done. So first you have to want to do it, and then we work together and do it. Otherwise, it's impossible. At least that's what I think, anyways. Maybe I'm wrong, but in order to have cooperation, we have to have cooperation. And, it makes no sense to keep human potential bottled up I don't know. I think it's the saddest thing to watch is all that wasted potential. I mean, it exists everywhere in nature too. I mean, we don't take care of all this stuff. Do we need to? I don't know. The world's too big for us anyways, but I don't know. I don't see what the reason is for not wanting to build something that, you know, takes care of itself and ends all the suffering. When you look at all the jobs that exist, this is in relation to Social Security Administration, right? If you are unable to work, then due to a disability, then you apply for disability. But why do we work to begin with? What are we trying to accomplish with these jobs? That's the real question. And when I look at the jobs, I think they're mostly stupid as hell and nonsensical. And I don't understand why you get paid for this stuff. I don't understand why we do these things. But it makes and what should we do? What should we be doing, right? I don't know. I mean, probably we should be trying to end the things in life that are really bad. If you talk about good and bad, most people will agree what's good and what's bad. I mean, obviously there are exceptions, right? It depends on your perspective on things, but when it comes to suffering, pain in your own body or mental suffering, feeling trapped, right? These things are really unpleasant and bad. And so, making sure that they don't happen, I would think would be the goal of humanity, but I see no effort toward that. I see a lot of effort toward pushing young people through failed processes that damage, poison their bodies just for no reason at all, just because that's the normalized abuse that has already taken place. I see not a lot of people stopping the normalized abuse that's in place. There's talk of it, but there's not much action, not much I don't know. The thing is, people, you don't take anything seriously until it's your problem. Until you feel the heat, right? People don't change because they see the light, but more so because they feel the heat. So if you feel passionate about making these kind of changes, you actually have to you have to make the effort to remember what it is. It has to be your Bible, your verse, your stuff that you keep fresh in your mind, because while you may not feel the heat today, somebody else is, or you may feel it tomorrow, right? You may feel it at another time. So these are all the things you have to do just to stay on top of a problem. But there are just so many people that are not doing anything that is helpful for anyone. They're pushed through failed processes, and they, just copy, normalized abuse. I didn't hear that term for a long time, and then I heard it and I said, that is what it is. That is what I'm seeing, right? It is, I started keeping track of things one at a time, and that's insane amount of things to keep track of. It's too much. And then I started seeing the patterns from one thing to the next, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, none of this is really good, right? It's not going to solve our problems. It's part of the problem, and it's not solving the problems. So yeah, I do get tired of talking about this, honestly. I guess, focusing on things that help heal me is more important. But, I just walked through a hellish battle, more than I can put into words. And I'm still here. So the resilience of the body and recovering, even though it was long, slow, and very painful, extremely painful. The resilience of the body has kept me going. So I'm coming, my pain is becoming less and less. I'm regaining function of my muscles, slowly but surely. I can't really predict any amounts of time, but as soon as possible, I'll be gone. I will take the money. I will do a job. I will take the money. I won't enjoy the job because it's a waste of time. But, if I know a faster way to get money, I'll get it. Apart from trying to rob a bank or something, I mean, there's no, everything carries its own risk. Like, all right, well, I might get the money or I might be stuck in jail for a long time. And I don't want that. It's the same scenario. Lesser of evils. But it's because we have an overflowing system of badness that needs to be fixed. Overflowing system of badness. It's just unhealthy, right? I think what some of these jobs, I think, you're reforming your behavior so that you're not a threat to people, because you could be, right? Humans are capable of doing cruel things, and being self-aware to the point where you say, well, I could do these things, but I'm not going to, because, I'm trying to solve the problems. I'm trying to not cause pain and suffering to people. Right? I think that's the best element of these jobs to begin with. The things that we produce are not necessarily things that we need. The services that we provide, again, not necessarily things that are needed. But the fact that you're keeping your time occupied and you're reforming your behavior to a point where you are not a threat to the rest of the herd, is the greatest gesture you can give to humanity itself. when it comes to the domain of feelings, the domain of pain, suffering, right? It's often very difficult to communicate from person to person what exactly you're feeling. You know, for me, it's musculoskeletal, but it's all throughout my body, so it's really hard to describe. And you know, it kind of moves a little bit day to day. I'm trying to keep my awareness on that. So describing it, myofascial pain syndrome, right, I think is a pretty good generic description for what it feels like. But it doesn't communicate to another person, you know, the severity, right? If you felt this, you'd be a little more, you know, if you knew what I was going through, you'd be hopefully a little more, you know, empathetic toward this. But you're not. So I have to be aware of my situation. I have to be aware that other people don't give a shit because they can't feel it. And all these things make my life miserable and difficult. And, you know, on top of this Social Security disability process where they drag you out for years and then they say no after all that. You know, the amount of fire and anger that I felt during this time period is more than you've ever experienced, I'm sure. Most likely. So, and it's all justified, right? You know, in my mind, you know, torturing another human being or even being cruel at all is not good. But, you know, if somebody does something to you, you know, they should expect the same in return. And nobody's perfect. We're all resilient. We all have, you know, pains and stuff. And a lot of times people who've been through pain, you know, never received the healing. And then they take it out on somebody else, you know. Well, the person that abused me never apologized. And it never got made right. I never got to process it. So I just did it to somebody else. You know, a lot of times people say, well, I don't think I did it as bad as it was done to me, right? Sometimes people justify it in their head that way. But, you know, ideally, it doesn't happen at all. But we have such flawed processes that, you know, for a child coming into the world, that's the perspective you have to look at, is what are you showing the rest of the world? Forget about what you think you're doing and look at what does somebody who has a fresh mind think of your whole thing. You know, because a lot of times there's unnecessary difficulties and there's, you know, confusing or ambiguous wording, and it just doesn't make sense. A lot of businesses are really, a lot of people are really pushy when it comes to their idea or their service or their, you know, well, you have to do this. Well, we're paying for it. And then they fucking basically coerce you into being a part of their fucking thing. And that is not, you know, when they do that, they're never reflecting on whether their service is good to begin with. And, you know, that's not good. So, yeah, I could go on about all the things that I've observed. And I can present it many different ways. But I'm just responding to the process that I'm walking through, essentially. I'm giving you information to let you know that, yes, I'm a human being with thoughts and feelings, and here's a taste of what goes on in my mind. And that's a response to the lack of communication given to me, and certainly the lack of financial help, let alone the medical help that was needed. Medical help was not given, financial help was not given, and no real communication at all was given. So I'm left in the dark with my thoughts, and here are some of them, right? It can be taken into consideration on my case or not. It doesn't make one bit of difference. A failed process is a failed process. Because it exists, even though it shouldn't exist, just means that, the information is going to pass through until it doesn't exist. For as long as it has life left, there will still be a little bit of energy going through, dancing around it. And it may come from me or anybody. At least that's how I see it. But yeah, that's it for my Social Security update. My pain update, like I said, is gradual improvement. I've had some change here. I said last update that the next couple months would be significant, and we're about halfway into that. So yeah, that's true, right? I still feel that's true. There has been significant change. A few 4 or 5 days ago, I had a lot of movement in my hips. It was a 2-day thing, so maybe 3 to 4 days ago, something like that. I had a lot of movement. There's still more to go, but every time these major movement events happen, I gain some function to go with it. That's noticeable. So it's good for me to be aware of the movements that happen, or the progress that's taking place, because I've been surrounded by so much badness when I have to process in my mind, I have to remember the good things, or I have to remember what it was before the good things, because this can happen again. This has happened before to a lesser degree, and it's extremely, extremely painful this time around. And it shouldn't happen again, but again, there's no process in place that prevents it from happening again, right? There's nobody to catch you when you fall. When you fall, you end up having to claim it yourself. And that is a very sad thing with our society, and it needs to change. Because, on the one hand, you start thinking that, oh, they got rescue team here, they got ambulance, they got, all these things, and you think, oh, if you can't work, then they'll pay for you, right? It feels good to know that somebody has your back, but the reality is they don't. They don't have your back, or if you want to play with words, they got my back, and I wish they gave it back because I have no function, right? Right, and our society, we produce a lot of advertisement. We produce movies, especially, and a lot of TV shows, and then advertisement on top of that. It's just like creation and advertisement for the creation and it's very confusing because it's not needed for anything, and it's not healthy or good for anything. You know, I mean, some people would say, I like it, you know, it makes, you know, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, you know, for humans' survival or for a healthy society, it's not necessary. Many things can be done in place of that. But, you know, if we don't even know how to solve basic problems, or we're not solving basic problems, then why do we have all this other shit, you know? I mean, that's the real eye-opener right there. It's like all this shit, you know, all this shit is not good. You know, it's like if you were to let garbage pile up in your home, you know, your living space, you had a, you know, you eat, you know, you pile up even your own waste, right? If you have no plumbing or no garbage collection, right? It doesn't take long before it's you know, very unpleasant to live in, and it just accumulates over time until somebody cleans it up. So yeah, the cleanup was needed a long time ago, but you know, it still hasn't happened. From my perspective, I haven't seen it, and we need things to be able to prevent these problems in the meantime, so that we don't have to. I don't know. We should be solving these problems. It should be impossible that they happen to begin with. But my teeth are bad. I had a picoectomy done 6 and 7 with a root canal on 6. I'm starting to write down my own records now because apparently it's necessary. I wasn't sure if it was necessary before, but you know, the people that are holding my records don't necessarily remember them or keep them. There was no process in place for storing all the records, which makes no sense to me. I guess people are self-conscious about their medical problems because they don't want to talk about them. But, you know, if you don't know what the problem is, you can't solve it. So, you know, it makes sense to have a system that, you know, a way to store all the medical information so that you can easily access it. But I don't know. I don't trust anyone anymore. I mean, I never really did, but I just, you know, it's like hammered into me throughout life experience that people are not reliable, and you have to do everything yourself in terms of taking care of information. Everything you do matters. It's a thing that people don't realize. Every little step that you make, that you take matters. Even if you feel like something you don't want to do it, you know, you have to always remember why you do what you do, and you know, do it the best that you can. You know, use your human energy, use your intelligence to do the job, even if it's seems annoying or stupid, whatever. Because every little thing matters. I suppose, right? I'm saying that because I've seen a lot of people just be careless for no good reason, and you know, my life would have been easier if you just cared. My life would have been easier if you took the things you did seriously and as a responsible adult, it would have made it easier on the child. I simply didn't understand things until I had to sit there and really bang my head until I found information on the internet that helped me realize. I'm like, well, you knew that and you didn't say anything because you thought it was, you didn't care. You didn't want to retain that bit of information. So, but everything matters. Put your care into everything. Use your good love energy to solve problems. And if things are difficult, put on your Superman clothes and try to fix it. Whatever helps you solve the problem. Step up to the plate and try to fix it. That's what I'm not seeing. That's not what I'm not seeing a lot of. So I know you can do this, but you're not doing it. But anyways, I'm going to take more time and heal, and then when my body feels like it can handle a 40-hour work week or whatever, then I'll be back. But I'll have to put it to test to make sure, because if things keep stiffening up on me, then I'm gonna I'll be losing the battle again. Because there's not enough time in the day. Once you get home from work, if you're fully stiff, you can't just take 2 hours to stretch. It won't reset you, even in that amount of time. My muscles take too long to relax. And actually, they wouldn't relax for years, but I think they were stuck. I had to reactivate them very slowly, one at a time, one thing at a time, in extreme amounts of pain. I need more out of my hips. I need my back. I need my upper back, and then my neck. My head's gonna start moving too, because my neck is still wrong. So somewhere up there around my shoulders and neck, it's gonna start moving probably in the next few days. I can't feel anything until it happens, but sometimes it'll give me a little zap. It gives me a little clue of what direction it's headed, or at least what is still needed. Okay, there's still shit up there. And that maybe anything in the neck is torturous. Those headaches are really bad. So whether or not they trigger, I don't know. We'll see. But I gotta really pay attention, because I'm trying to fix it in a way that it doesn't keep happening. You got to get every little bit of stiffness out of there, because when it goes from extreme to less extreme, you're like, oh, this is way better, and it's like, yeah, but it's still not correct. So I got to figure out what else there is, and it'll take a while probably. Maybe late spring, summer of next year. And then, I don't know, like to get some good exercise time in. We'll see. Getting back in shape is tricky, but it's not that hard. I've done it lots of times. It's the actual getting the muscles activated is the hard part. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So that's the pain update, I guess. That's the observation. Oh, I was talking about my teeth, right? So I think my teeth are extra bad because, my connective tissue, my jaw and, through my face and neck is all messed up. And I think it just has difficulty getting the proper circulation. That's my theory. And, in the next few months, I should get more circulation in my face and head. Some of it is already restored, I could feel. Some of it's already coming back, but I think I need more stretch out of my jaw. It's not correct. It's better than it was, but it's not correct. I think that'll improve the healing of my teeth. I see the same thing in my feet, right? So I have, like fungus on my toenails. And, mostly the whole nail. Just like a little bit of the nail bed that's coming in is good, but the rest of it's bad. And it was like that for years until, like 3-4 months ago. I got more circulation in my leg and it went down to my feet, and the nail finally started healing. I tried, the antifungal creams and stuff. It didn't do anything. And then my own body, as it gained circulation, I was able to. It's starting to heal now. I'm only like a couple months, maybe a month or two away from a completely healed nail. And right, so that's evidence that I'm making progress. It's also evidence that the body has its own functions, and when your muscles lock up like that, you lose your functions. Your tissue has trouble getting rid of waste. You have more toxic buildup, and that leads to these problems, right? Your body struggles to keep up with the healing process, right? So this is it's something that's not even taught in school, right? It's not even something that I learned. I had to keep track of all these other things, and they didn't turn out to be useless information. And then the stuff that was most helpful. So, yeah, but healing, your body takes care of a lot of things that you don't notice. And that's something that is hard to teach, I mean, you could show videos, I guess, to somebody who's struggling, right? It's hard to teach unless you go through it yourself. But again, why do you have a process for having judges decide who's disabled and who's not? I mean, I don't know anything about the judge, but I mean, it's pretty safe to assume that based on the information that's available, that you're not going to be able to figure this out. My medical record doesn't show anything. It shows that I went to the doctor for this problem and nothing really was done. I mean, they took an MRI, they said, yeah, there's disc injury and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're disabled. Like, well, what test would show that I can't move? There's no such test that exists for this problem. Then it's just like fucking nuts, right? Why do you stick by the medical? Why does Social Security, rely so heavily on medical information when they aren't medical? They don't understand medical. I mean, the judge has to be a fucking medical doctor then, right? I mean, how can you be qualified reading through medical information and then listening to somebody's testimony and then knowing, parsing the two bits of information in order to make a determination? Like, there's no way you're going to know that. So, I don't know. But there's basically just a lot of retardism, and so much retardism. So, I don't know. But there's a lot of space. A lot of space out in nature if you can get to breathe in some of the fresh air. I mean, I know if you live like in a major city, everything's really packed in, and there's not a lot of clean, fresh air come from the trees and stuff. The environment's still huge, so air is air, but a lot of it's polluted air. That's no good, right? Those things, this is why I like that I can at least breathe this stuff in. So if I go to a major city, besides being too noisy, I mean, you can feel, you get used to it in time, but the air, you never get the clean air. I don't know if there's a way to get clean air, especially in your own living space, right? You go outside, for some time, you go out and I don't know. I think that's probably the biggest problem. I mean, there's a lot of problems, but it's true everywhere. But I think the difference from breathing in the fresh air, I think it's good. I think it's good for your health. Fresh air and fresh sunlight and stuff, and water, obviously. We have too many major problems. All these things have to get cleaned up. But we need to have medical adequate at what they do, and it gets pretty bad if they don't want to participate, or it gets pretty bad if they just won't evolve. You have to get these problems solved. So young people should be trying to be doctors, but when you go to school and you learn information out of a book, you have to bring your critical thinking brain. Don't just accept information. Really research it, and really, if you have to test things, you have to test things. Because there are simply problems that we don't know how to solve that will never get solved because the doctors don't question. You don't have somebody that's a go-to critical thinker. So I sit here and think about it myself, try to solve it. But at least the body's, the knowledge of the engineering of the body, I could say engineering, whatever you want to call it, the biomechanical processes of the body, is not known, is not innate knowledge, and it's not taught in school unless you learn stuff in a medical school. It's not basic information that's given to people, you know. So I don't quite understand why that is. The more you're aware of yourself, you know, the better. I mean, humans are capable of so many things, and we're not doing these things largely. We're doing a lot of stupid things. But we could be building the thing that helps everybody, and we're not. At least I don't think we are. I don't remember seeing any paperwork or anything. But anyways, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna keep healing, and if I get the letter from the appeals council, then I will talk about it. I don't know what else there is to say. But then I'll go to spend the next several months healing and reassess where I'm at, and whether or not I could go back to work. And as soon as I can go back, I'm going to go back. I don't like this. I don't like work either, but I think it's a lesser of evil. Because I'm getting my freedom. It's slightly more freedom is all I'm getting. And the ability to save money buys me more freedom the more that I work. Freedom is the best thing there is. We should all have it. But we have too many overly regulatory, egregious processes. Most of them are standing on, you know, thin ice as it is, or whatever you want to say. But, you know, buy the freedom. You buy the freedom, and then what do you get from it? You get freedom, and is it better? Yeah, it's better. But you still get lonely, right? We still feel like there's, I don't know, it still feels like life is incomplete. I don't know. I just feel like too much time has gone by in my life, and it's essentially a write-off. It's a big waste. You know, I thought of so many things, and none of them happened. And what's the point? I mean, I just watched a bunch of retards wear put on a bunch of masks because they're afraid of invisible things. I said, well, it has nothing to do with, I don't know. But I guess, whatever is in your mind, whatever you believe, or just copying the behavior of other people, you know. I mean, I got sick. I got COVID for a little while, but I don't know. I mean, I've been sick before. I don't know. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just saying, I had to follow the regulatory processes, and it cost me my job. You know, you're willing to get rid of people for not wearing masks. You know. Or really for not getting the vaccine. You're willing to the Mayo Clinic wouldn't even hire me. I don't even know why, but they were a little bit spooked. The interviewers were a little bit spooked that I didn't have my mask on and I was unvaccinated. Even though that wasn't one of the questions they were supposed to ask. But you know, when it comes to qualifications for doing a job, there aren't any. The qualification is that you show up to the interview and you play this little interview game, and then they give you the job. You know, sometimes. Has nothing to do with your experience. I mean, every interview I've had, my knowledge of doing the job was not considered. It had nothing to do with anything. My knowledge of print production or the presses that I've run or the equipment that I've run, I mean, it had nothing to do with it. They just say, well, you did it before. You could do it again. So literally, you could just make up your own fucking resume. You know? Make up your own resume. I mean, it comes down to how much they verify your employment, right? So I worked at some places, they verify like crazy, and other places, you know, pretend to verify, but they don't really. It's fucking nuts. But why do you do it to begin with? Well, we want to make sure that you're who you say you are. Well, I am. So what's the problem? What don't you like about me? Why do you pay some people this amount of money and other people that amount of money? I don't see the difference. My first day on the job, my fucking boss tells me, I just had a baby. I was gone for 2 months, you know? Like I'm your fucking diary. What the fuck are you telling me for? Alright, well, I was just homeless in extreme amount, I'm still in extreme amounts of pain, and I need money. So here I am, knowing full well you make probably twice my salary, and I gotta sit here and do physical labor, which is hurting me. I mean, are you fucking serious? You're telling me about your fucking paternity leave that you had for months and that you just had a fucking baby. Great. Another retard reproduced. I'm supposed to be happy about that. Well, at least she's got the paternity leave money and stuff. That's nice. What about the rest of us? So anyways, I got story after story. Things you wouldn't even believe, man. Things hard for me to believe. I say, are you fucking serious? Well, that's our world. That's just, you know, nobody gives a shit. Well, that's not actually true. Everyone gives lots of shit and nobody cleans it up. Alright, so anyways, that's all I got for today. Gotta tie my shoe and then make my way back. I'm able to stand longer, sit longer, lie down longer in these postures. Still have to move, change things up, but I'm able to last longer in one position, which is significantly helpful. You know, it's way better that way. It's still uncomfortable 24/7, but you know, coming out here and being here longer, you know, maybe twice the amount of time, something like that. I don't know exactly, but it didn't take long before like I couldn't move anymore back then, and now I'm, you know, within the past month or two, it's starting to get easier. But I just want it all to finish. I just want to get right to the end here. It just doesn't go that way. There's a washing process, so the tissue has to clean itself, stretch. The body's resilient, but getting things reactivated takes time. The body has to, it's like it readjusts to the new configuration, even if it's still wrong. And then you just keep helping it along. And yeah, that's that. Okay, well, see you next time. Maybe I'll have good news to report next time. That'll be great. I mean, it's only been since January 8th, 2008, since I've been reporting nothing but bad news. Maybe one of these days it'll be good news I can actually share. But hasn't happened yet.